In today's landscape of unpredictable stock market movements, there's a new wave of attention-grabbing news, stirring conversations across corporate boardrooms and investment circles. Nvidia, the semiconductor behemoth and AI darling, has hit a perplexing snag. The company recently announced its latest quarterly earnings, which surprisingly surpassed expectations. Yet, these surpassed expectations couldn't mask a looming uncertainty that has rattled investors. Nvidia's confounding earnings results have Jim Cramer firing warnings left and right. Despite what seemed like blockbuster numbers, Nvidia's stock took a massive hit. Cramer isn't mincing words. He wants investors to beware of Nvidia. Nvidia's shares took a nosedive, plummeting 6.9% in extended trading. What could possibly be wrong with one of the fastest rising star stocks of 2024? Stay tuned as we delve deeper into this intriguing paradox, breaking down what this means for Nvidia, its investors, and where the stock could be heading. Hello everyone and welcome back to Investocracy.
It was a heck of a lot easier to own the stock of Nvidia when hardly anyone knew about it. Once you get this big to the point where you become the entire fulcrum of the stock market, you're going to have a target on your back, and that is exactly what I think happened tonight to the stock after Nvidia reported a fine and dandy set of numbers, because fine and dandy is no longer enough with this incredible company. Now, we know the pre-quarter jitters of National Nvidia Day weighed on the averages. Dow declining 159 points was worse. S&P losing 0.6%, NASDAQ tumbling 1.12%. And now, with the stock sinking after hours, we could be in for a hangover from what they're already calling Nvidia's buzzkill quarter. But the they happen to be like the people having an Nvidia watch party. Yes, there was one. There's nothing to celebrate here. Move on. All right, let me just inject a note of sanity to pinprick all the insanity about this amazing company. Nvidia just reported a stupendous quarter. 122% revenue growth, for heaven's sake. Adjusted earnings per share increased 152%. Company announces a $50 billion buyback. $50 billion here, $50 billion there. Come on. Yet it's still seeking in after hours because the expectations got out of hand.
Nvidia's dizzying highs and perplexing lows. For a company that has soared approximately 150% since the start of the year, Nvidia's recent performance has itself been a roller coaster ride. One might imagine investors grinning from ear to ear with such gains. However, with the high stakes come high expectations. Even though Nvidia delivered what seemed like stellar quarterly earnings, it left many with a bitter taste akin to a stock that's just seen its best days. Why is that? It's simple. Wall Street is the ultimate overthinker. If anything suggests that growth might taper, even slightly, investors are ready to jump ship. Despite the dazzling rise, Nvidia shares saw significant tumbles, diving as much as 33% between July and August. While it managed to claw back up to just 11% below its record high by Wednesday, the latest earnings have reignited fears of a possible slowdown. To contextualize this moment, consider that Nvidia has set a high bar with its association with AI, an almost magical word in the stock market lexicon today. The recent numbers, despite being impressive, suggested to some a trajectory that might not be sustained forever. So, imagine expecting a gourmet meal and receiving a delicious yet simple dish. Satisfying but not exhilarating enough. Remember what they say about the stock market? It's like a bad prom date, always looking for the next big thing the moment it gets boring. Nvidia, unfortunately, seems to be trudging through that awkward dance right now. The technical landscape and decoding Nvidia's stock patterns. So, what do the tea leaves say about Nvidia's future? And by tea leaves, we mean technical analysis. But before we go through it, if you want to keep up with Nvidia's latest updates and keep up with the stock market's latest news, you can follow our Twitter account. We post multiple times daily about the biggest changes and catalysts in the market, so click the follow button if you don't want to miss the newest market updates. Now, back to today's video, where we unfold Nvidia's magnificent report.
Nvidia has become overly important to the fate of the entire stock market, that even I, who once named my dog after this company, think it's all gotten to be too much. We know that artificial intelligence is the way of the future. We also know that Nvidia is the best play on artificial intelligence. In the end, though, Nvidia has become an albatross around the market's neck because no one stock can be a proxy for the future of the S&P 500. Yet that's exactly what happened as Nvidia romped from around $500 billion in market cap just 18 months ago to more than $3 trillion now. Maybe after tonight, it will shed that millstone, that albatross. You know what? That would be a godsend for all of us. Why is the Nvidia apotheosis wrong? because business is a funny thing. Today, before NVIDIA reported, we learned that a client of the firm, an important one, Supermicro, will delay a key SEC filing because it needs more time. Now, this is something that's always going to be viewed as negative, especially because a short seller dropped a devastating series of allegations against the Supermicro just the day before. This is Supermicro we're talking about, not NVIDIA. But is it also negative for NVIDIA? Do you think any of the people who are new to the stock bothered to ask whether Supermicro's delay has anything to do with NVIDIA's future? It was strictly shoot first and then ask questions later. What was truly incredible, though, was how the contagion rapidly spread to the rest of the tech world. All the semis that I follow, almost every company involved with enterprise software, thank heaven, Salesforce reported a good number tonight. Now, the quarter itself, the actual NVIDIA quarter that was reported, by that point, it felt like insult added to injury when there was no injury to NVIDIA. The company will muddle through and recharge. At its next iteration, Blackwell goes full bore, and we see renewed expectations. I hope they don't get excessive like they were tonight. And you know what? I just hope this is it for National NVIDIA Day. Can we just call that a day?
NVIDIA's stock behavior around key levels is essential to understand if you're thinking about getting in or out of the stock. As per the latest insights, initial support is around $116. This level ties back to a trend line connecting the May peak to an early August relief rally. Investors might find opportunities here. In a critical 107 zone, here lies another point where buyers may show renewed interest. If NVIDIA's stock descends to this level, it may align with trading levels from May to August. At risk, near $97. The further selling pressure could lead to a retest at this crucial juncture, accompanied by the twin peaks from March. This area could become a battleground for bulls and bears. Let's deep dive into $91. Should the pattern continue to a downward trajectory, $91 is another critical level. This points to the July-August downtrending bars pattern, adding another layer of complexity to NVIDIA's stock narrative. But let's address the elephant in the room. Despite the potential for weakening, why does NVIDIA still hold significant allure? Because numbers aren't the whole story. NVIDIA's continued interest and investments in AI make it a heavyweight player. Short-term movements do not eclipse its long-term promise. Is it time to invest in NVIDIA? But that's not all of it. So let's keep rolling.
What Jensen, godfather of AI, talks about in terms of demand, because there's no better perch in terms of from an AI chip perspective than from what NVIDIA sees. So I think it's not just about October quarter, it's really going into the next, call it 6 months. But I mean, we've talked about everything we're seeing from an Asia supply chain perspective. I think it's a drop to mic performance tonight.
What about the possible Blackwell delays and getting more clarity on exactly what that is? Because when you say, well, you'll hear from him on demand, we already know demand's great, yep. Right? We already know that. We heard from the hyperscalers. We know that revenues on CapEx are up 40, 50 times, 50%, I mean, over the period of a year. What about Blackwell?
Well, I mean, I don't view that, even if we're talking about 2-3 months, anything that moves out of the actual October quarter. When we look at from a CapEx perspective, when you look at Blackwell, if you could guide up, call it $1 to $2 billion with a delay, in terms of where the trajectory here, I mean, you're going to start looking at what ultimately will be $5, $6 earnings power for NVIDIA when you look out year. And I think the most important thing is here, you have the pieces of the puzzle, this Rubik's Cube. You have the CapEx players that we've seen from big tech. You have names like Palantir, ServiceNow, and others. But as the godfather of AI speaks tonight, this is the final piece that shows that this AI party we've talked about, it's 9 p.m. and it goes to 4 a.m.
Here lies the golden question. Should you invest in NVIDIA? While recent earnings have shaken some confidence, experts and analysts aren't hitting the panic button just yet. In matter of fact, many see this as an inevitable pause in an otherwise lucrative journey. The technological relevance of NVIDIA, particularly in the AI sector, remains unchallenged and fiercely compelling. But before going through it, if you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make. So if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, back to the video.
Your initial impressions of the numbers that we've seen, of the guidance that we've heard, of the discussion that you've just been listening to, and then I'll follow up with a question.
Yeah, I think the group nailed it. We have been used to big beats, or at least 1.5 to 2 billion on results and guide, and this was a little shy of that. So that is the market reaction here. I think the Blackwell delays were very well known. I don't think there's nothing there out of the ordinary, and
Nothing worrisome there. Nothing worrisome.
No, and in fact, I look at this softer guide as perhaps a positive, because if Blackwell was in the October quarter, they would have beat handily.
Why has the reaction been, this is not the question I intended to ask, and I'll get back to it in a moment. Why has the reaction been as kind of, I guess you'd say, sort of moderate as it has been? Because the options markets were looking at 10% plus possible moves.
Yeah, I was surprised by that options paradigm. We would have taken the under on volatility.
Well,
but yeah,
you'd have been right, right? Yeah.
Yes, but this report here is really all about that whisper being a tad shy. The gross margins are related to the Blackwell delay. They're nothing more than that. If I were to nitpick, maybe OpEx guidance was a little high, but that's it. This is much to do about nothing.
So much. Here's my question, and it's for you first, but then really for the table. Nvidia has become a historic stock, in my view. As I look back, I've been doing this 30 plus, almost 40 years now.
No.
Yeah, I started in 1982.
Come on.
Yes, I did indeed. All right, anyhow, but Chris, let me come back to you. Is there a correlate historical stock that you can remember to Nvidia in terms of growth, market share, dominance, appreciation? Is there one that comes quickly to mind, and what happened to it?
I mean, maybe Amazon in e-commerce, or Google in search, or Facebook in social. But to this extent, on the hardware surrounding AI, I mean, NVIDIA is almost all of it. So those others would probably pale in comparison.
Current forecasting models suggest that once the dust settles, NVIDIA's growth trajectory is likely to resume its upward march. At the time of penning down this analysis, NVIDIA shares have absorbed a hit but remain fundamentally strong. This period could either be the harm men moment investors dread or a golden buying opportunity for the astute. And now, it's over to you. What do you think lies ahead for NVIDIA? Will it continue to conquer the AI frontier, or is this a sign of things to come? Share your thoughts and weigh in with your perspectives. Investing in NVIDIA could either be a thrilling chase or a cautionary tale. Your call. And finally, if you would like to know what companies like NVIDIA have been up to these past few days, go ahead and click on the next video on your screen. See you there.